Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Business Spotlight, the podcast where we shine a light on the incredible entrepreneurs and business leaders in our community. I'm your host, Craig Wipperman with Music City Action Coach, and today we're excited to introduce to you someone who is blazing a trail in foundation repair and waterproofing here in Nashville. Our guest today is Rennie Bodden, co-owner of DFX Foundation and Waterproofing. We'll dive into Rennie's background, explore the challenges he's faced, and the successes he's celebrated. Whether you're a fellow entrepreneur, an aspiring business owner, or someone who simply likes to support local businesses, this conversation is sure to inspire and inform. So without further ado, let's welcome Rennie to the podcast. Rennie, how you doing today?
Doing amazing, Craig. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, this should be fun.
Yes.
I'm really looking forward to the conversation. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you were sharing with me the other days some of your previous history and how you kind of fell into waterproofing and repair of foundations. Share
Yeah.
that with our audience here.
Yeah. So, um, like Craig said, my name is Rennie Bodden. I was actually born in Honduras, actually, and found myself in college in Chattanooga, Tennessee, the Collegedale area, in a small Christian university by the name of Southern Adventist University. Went there, finished school, worked for a couple years in I guess you can say, the corporate world. Worked at Volkswagen in the health and safety department, um, and somehow ended up joining a foundation and waterproofing company. Um, they were at the time, and probably still is, the largest foundation and waterproofing company in the Southeast. I worked there for several years, had uh, been promoted a total of about 7 or 8 times, if I'm not mistaken. And through that, I found a love for foundation repair and waterproofing, and kind of expanded on my want to be into the business world as well, right? So found my niche by getting into the industry that way. So I started out first as a installer on a crew to being the head of production for over 3 different offices for that company, and that's how I got into the business.
Yeah, so that's how you got into the business. And then how did you get into owning a business?
Yes, yes. Great. Yeah, great question. Uh, so, like I said, I worked for that company for a total of around, I think it was 8.5 years, something like that. Uh, I became really good friends with the owner of the company. I had a little bit of equity in the company, and at the time they had a merger or acquisition, and through that, I was able to save some pocket change up, and after a couple of years, decided, I wanted to get out, take some time off, and clear my head a little bit, and had some time to reflect, and decided myself and another partner to invest into a company by the name of Mr. Foundation, which is the original name for actually Delta Foundation Specialist, now rebranded under DFX, Dynamic Foundation Experts, which is our company out of Memphis, Tennessee. But the inspiration really was I saw the need for a premier company in the industry, um, uh, really for two different things: for taking care of people who are in the company, who are employees, right, your internal customers, and at the same time too, I saw the need for taking care of people's problems in the foundation and waterproofing industry, right? So actual customers, exterior customers, external customers. So with that, we were able to make a partnership work, and each partner brought their own expertise to the company, and that made it a whole lot more feasible, and kind of took I guess you can say, the chill off the bite a little bit, and made, I guess you can say, the three of us more willing to jump into the deep end and be true business owners.
Yeah. Yeah, a few things. Thanks for sharing that. The you saw the need, you said, for employees, from the
Mhm.
employees perspective, and saw the need for taking care of problems. Did
Yeah.
Was that like is that just based on some of your experience that you didn't see that you know, employees were necessarily taken care of in that space, and then that's you
Um,
wanted to make a difference, or?
yeah, you could say that. Over the years, and the foundation waterproofing business is a business that is relatively in its infancy. It's not like plumbing. It's not like HVAC. It's not like some of the other service related companies or service related services out there, right? In construction, it's relatively new in comparison to all those other companies or all those other style of companies. So we saw a big need for that to give people who were actually skilled because let's just put it like this. You walk into a Walmart, any grocery store, and you see a guy that is wearing blue jeans and boots and shirt's a little messy. You could tell, man, he might be a lineman, or he might be a plumber, he might be a HVAC guy, right? And there's very few people that know somebody in the foundation in waterproofing industry. Back in the day, you'd hear, "Oh yeah, I know a couple guys. They do that mud jacking stuff, which is just pumping concrete underneath the foundation. Very
Mhm.
old school technique of jacking foundations up. Absolutely does not work. Do not recommend it. But in our business, it's a little bit more it's a little bit more rare. So for me personally, I had a very special interest in bringing talented people together to make a very, very special team. Um, uh, Without saying any type of numbers or anything like that, our 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 averages that we do on a weekly basis or on a yearly basis now are way higher than what other companies would do typically, and it's based off of skill, right?
Hmm.
Based off of skill because there are certain levels to this type of work. It's very grueling. It's very challenging. It's very difficult. A lot of times you don't know what you're going to have until you open the foundation up or
Mhm.
jump underneath the crawl space and start actually working. So it takes a very specific type of person to do that type of work. And I really wanted to own a company where we can bring individuals in who shared like mindset and give those individuals a place where they can express and be appreciated, and they can work hard, but at the same time too, they would make the type of money they need to make to take care of their families, and at the same time, really take care of our customers out there. So I think over the years there has been a little bit of injection of money into the industry by different type of companies that are out there, and so I think the love for employees have kind of like faded a little bit. And it's my belief that if you take care of your people, you treat them good, you treat them with respect, you love on them, right? You want to take care of them in a way that they can take care of your customers. In return, they appreciate that. And you have very little turnover, you have a very little noise, and they know if you change something that you mean it, and it's for the
Mhm.
best interest for the company and for them. And so yeah, that was kind of my that was my niche, I guess, in recruiting and bringing talented individuals in. So yeah.
Yeah, well, the fact that you worked in the industry for that long a period of time, and
Hmm.
you had, I'm sure you had some pretty good inroads into some skilled and talented people.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so as I kind of heard you share with us, it takes some skill to do it and takes the right mindset and the right kind of person.
Yeah.
And providing opportunities to those people. And of course, now there's skills, the ability to do the type of work, and
Hmm.
then there's character and attitude of the person, right? Which
Right.
is it all comes together. And then if you can provide them the kind of environment that it sounds like you're striving to provide for, then you've got something really special.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, it's not something you will go to like a trade school for, right?
Mhm.
And so all the training is done inside of the company, inside of an organization. So it's just it isn't something that is, hey, I'm going to go to a trade school to become a foundation repair foreman, or I'm going to go to a trade school to become a waterproofing foreman. It doesn't exist. It just doesn't, it's not out there. So to be able to give some of that feel inside of your
Mhm.
own company for people who are serious about, about their rigs, or for people who are serious about their appearance and people who are serious about their way of life, and that, for us it was like, let's create something special so that way these people have a place to go. And it's my belief that good people want to good players, good coworkers want to work with other good coworkers. And it's almost like if somebody comes in that is mediocre, they won't last in the organization, just because there's just a high level of high performers that are walking around in the building, at job sites, driving the trucks every single day.
Yeah.
So,
So how long have you been in business, Rennie?
technically speaking, I, it's crazy because I feel like I was always in business in a roundabout way, right?
Mhm.
Um, for me, my own company, it's been this year. So, right. So we just started out this year, um, with this company. But for me, I guess business goes back to even like being at home with my own
Mhm.
family, owning a hotel in the Caribbean. And so I
Oh, yeah.
worked with them for several years, and not work with them. Your mom tells you to do something, you do something, right? So it's not really, it's just the way of life. So I got to experience business from I guess several different aspects, and then of course with AFS, or with the other company. eh, I got to experience business from that aspect as well. But in our own company, so it's just been this year thus far.
Yeah. Wow. And so, and you mentioned earlier too that the other two partners and yourself all bring something different to the table.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, the founding partner of the company, his name is Brandon Russell.
Mhm.
He is a whiz at marketing and call center. So, uh, being that my background was in the production or operations aspect of things, that wasn't in the skill set. So, obviously, he was able to bring that to the company. He was already in it, and just needed help to scale up. The other partner, his name is Jared Bayless, and he brings the sales skill. So, expert at sales, and not just sales, but sales around waterproofing foundation repair, specific
Mhm.
to the industry. So, with that, we were able to really pave the way for this next level of DFX. So yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So cool. So did both of them have experience in the industry as well before coming to
The
DFX?
Jared, yes, he did. He had experience in sales in the foundation waterproofing aspect of business, and then Brandon did not. Brandon actually was an engineer, mechanical engineer, and decided that he wanted to get out of mechanical engineering and move into the foundation business. So what he did was he actually started a company in Memphis, Tennessee, in 2020, which was crazy to think the year of 2020 starting a company, right?
Hmm.
But in my head, I thought about it in the sense of, man, if this guy's crazy enough to do something in the year 2020 in business like that, I mean, he's got to be a good, solid individual, right? So,
Right.
and not scared, not afraid to pull a trigger. So, with his background with marketing and call center experience, he really focused on that with starting out in DFX, or at Delta at the time. It really it gave us a leg up because Jared and myself never had that experience.
Hmm.
So to humble down and say, hey man, we want to do a company, we want to start a business. Let's take and what do we need help with, right? And so marketing was the obvious. Yeah, I know nothing about marketing. Yes, we have to answer the phones, but we have to do it in a very professional manner to get customers, right? So that was just a natural partnership, and yeah, that's what we brought to the table. My
Yeah.
aspect of things was always operation, so everything from product development, research and development on product, training crews, our training team members. developing leaders into production roles, SOPs, standard operating procedures for installations to make things go as seamless as possible for customers, everything from scripts to how to talk to a customer, how to approach a problem, because when you're fixing a problem like a foundation, you're going to run into a problem from time to time. So you have to have certain parameters around what can be done and what can't be done. So coming up with those parameters was kind of my piece of the pie.
Okay. So how I got a few questions about how important it's awesome that each one of you brought something different.
Mhm,
But what else is equally as awesome is that there's three of you who decided to do it.
mhm.
How much are you guys leaning on each other? And how much uh gosh, I would imagine that there's like 110% commitment from all three of you to make this thing work and thrive,
That's right.
right?
That's right. Yes. Yeah, there's no other way to do it than with 110% worth of
Hmm.
commitment, right? But no, I mean, we lean on each other pretty heavy. Um, the way that we view our business is it's an ecosystem, right?
Hmm.
So, as an example, throw an example out there. So Brandon's in charge of marketing, right? Um, and he constantly needs content, as an example, right? Constantly needs content. The Jared Bayless, the owner of sales, he gets really good before pictures, or his team gets really good before pictures, and their managers get really good before pictures of a project, as a simple example, right?
Hmm.
But the bread and butter pictures of what something looks like that's prepared in our industry comes really from the production team. So making sure that we have a straight line of communication, our foremen communicate to our marketing department to show before and after, and it really, at the same time too, those guys really want to show their work. They really want to show what they're doing. And so we have a platform where we're able to display that on a daily basis. All right. So treating it like a ecosystem. From my experience in the past, that would never happen because what would happen is marketing is something separate, sales is something separate, and production is something separate, right? Operations is something separate. But by kind of mirroring our style of ownership
Hmm.
inside the company, we're able to have an ecosystem where all departments can communicate and talk to between not inter departments, but between departments without a manager, without a owner having to be involved with that.
Right, right. And with, what's cool is like you say, you three owners
Mhm.
are, exhibiting that type of teamwork and communication in and amongst yourselves. And
Yep.
it probably just, I don't know, it probably naturally flows down.
Mhm.
Um, but you're doing things to promote it as well, right? And it is easier to do when you're small. And once you get large and even larger, that's the
Yes.
big challenge is to force departments to interact and work as teams together and not have
Mhm.
agendas, that you're trying to push one over
Yep.
the other.
Yep.
You know?
That is very very true. Over the years, I have definitely witnessed, that type of that type of uh behavior inside of a company. And
Mhm.
so for us, we never wanted that type of culture inside of our organization. We always wanted a culture of wanting to cooperate with each other. That's the way we think. That's the way we work. If Brandon needs help on something, hey, I'll drive to Memphis right now and help him on it. If I need help with something, he'll gladly be here the next couple of hours to help. So for us, we wanted the same type of culture in the company. That is very, very huge. And we always think about it in the sense of the way we scale, right? Like what we kind of the old adage, the old saying, you practice how you play type of deal. You practice lazy,
Mhm.
you're gonna play lazy, right?
Mhm.
So we view every day as a learning opportunity inside of our organization. So what we are this year will be a lot bigger next year, and then a lot bigger the year after. So we view it as as a high priority to establish our identity and who we are, even from a very, very small set up now, right? So if we can establish that, I think our longevity in the business will go a long way versus just worrying about a P&L or something like that, right? So that's that is one indicator. I always say, hey, you don't have a company until you got two things. One, you got to have people. You got to have those individuals. The second thing is you have to solve a problem.
Mhm.
Those people have to solve a problem for a customer, right? If you have those things, you got a real company. And
Mhm.
for our line of work, it is grueling. I always say, man, we can make a TV show out of this thing because every single day it's a challenge. You're crawling through nasty conditions. You're putting your body through things that you never know that it could do, and to fix a customer's home, right? A lot of
Mhm.
times their number one asset. So with that being said, the fixing the problem should be the number one goal. And if there's anything that gets between that, that defeats the purpose and it makes it way more difficult. So if a production team member can help our marketing department, we'll do it. If our sales could help our call center, we'll do it. And by doing that, that customer should have a better experience.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah.
Um, so you had mentioned earlier about product development, and
Yeah.
it didn't strike me that you guys might be developing methods to waterproof. I just figured you used standard off-the-shelf type of products or services, but it sounds like you guys are investigating and evaluating and coming up with your own methods. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, for sure. Um, uh, which really falls in my wheelhouse,
Hmm.
in my aspect of things. So two different things that we look at when it comes to product development, or really technically three, if I can put it like that. One is going to be technology, right? And
Hmm.
that's technology in the sense of like use and technology like on actually making the install. If we can use some fashion, shape, or form of a tool or technology in the sense of like the way that the product goes into the ground. The other aspect of that is the experience that the customer has with that product. A lot of times, if you're repairing a foundation, you're digging down to the foundation, you're undermining the foundation, you're installing some type of steel with hydraulics or something like that.
Hmm.
The customer experience, they're not going to ever look at that bracket. It's gone. It's just like the footing of the home. If you see the
Hmm.
footing of your home, you have a problem, right? If you see the foundation repair, typically you have a problem. Like if you see the brackets just hanging above the grade or above dirt, there's a problem. You got washout. So we have to make sure that essentially that customer experience during the installation process and the technology in which we use to install that product, they actually see it. They believe that their foundation is repaired. So that might be using lasers, right? To
Hmm.
actually show the amount of movement that we get out of a structure, the stabilization factor of the structure. Just as a simple example, maybe our pumps that we use for waterproofing will have Wi-Fi, so the customer will know, hey, my pump is working. Over the years, I've had many different times the customer will say, hey, how do I know if my pump's working? Well, you just look at the pop-up in the yard, and if it's popping up, if there's erosion around the pop-up, your pump's working just fine. Nah, that's 20 years ago, right? Like, no, we're in a modern age. You should know when your pump runs. It should have Wi-Fi, right? So
Hmm.
things
Sure.
like things like that, we try to develop and put in place. And then the last thing is durability, right? So making sure that it's something that lasts the life of the structure, making sure that it's something that's put in place for the life of the structure, and it's not something that will break, or it won't work in 2 or 3 years, right? So you buy a pump, you buy drainage, you purchase foundation repair products from us, and they have to last the test of time. So those are kind of the factors that we'll look at in product development. But we're really in a constant state of doing that, um, just because we're trying to set ourselves apart from
Hmm.
other dealers that are out there. A lot of guys they will get what they're sold from a supplier, and we try to push that envelope. quite a bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would imagine that there's probably not another foundation in repair. I don't know. I'm not like I'm an expert in the space, but it seems like there's, you know, in that I don't know, you call it in the trades world. There's not like there's small businesses who are like innovating in services in the you know, in that type of niche, you know. But so
No, there, I would say there'll probably be few and far between, if there's any.
yeah,
Uh, I think about things that we do inside of our organization, as to the product development, the training, inventory. There's things that we do, especially on the operations side of a company that is a lot bigger, a lot bigger. But for us, the way that we look at it is we're smaller, and we have to not just deliver good service. We have to deliver great service to our customers. And so we do have to push our own envelope on what's possible. And that is something like product development and stuff like that that helps us to push that envelope and separate ourselves from the competition per se.
right. So, Rennie, what areas do you cover? Is it mostly Tennessee? Is that right? Or are you
Yeah.
outside the state as well?
No, we cover mostly Tennessee, but we also cover East Arkansas.
Hmm.
So East Arkansas, uh, Memphis, Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, which is all the way up to Clarksville, and we also cover Chattanooga, Tennessee as well. So
Okay.
we have a satellite office right now in Chattanooga and two warehouses. Well, one in Memphis, where our headquarters is at, call center, marketing, accounting, all that's over there, and then afterwards, in the Nashville area, technically Gallatin, we have a very nice shop, office space, and stuff like that as well. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what are the plans for
What are the
DFX?
plans?
Yeah. What do you guys that you've been in the business for a year? You've
Yeah.
established yourself in pretty, I mean, it sounds pretty well, pretty strongly in a year.
Yeah.
What are the growth plans?
Um, Growth plans. So with three offices that we have, right? We only have to grow each office incremental. We're so small in the moment that any little bit of growth that we have is going to be huge for us. So we have our foothold in Memphis. We really are working diligently to establish our foothold in Nashville. And we love Chattanooga. Chattanooga is an awesome market for us. We have great relationships over there, and we love the town of Chattanooga. That's where I went to school. So it was a natural progression to have a business there. But really, our goal is to become the premier foundation and waterproofing company in Tennessee, right, and in any surrounding areas that we do touch as well. So if we're in Chattanooga, we'll jump into Georgia. If we're in Memphis, we have to jump into Mississippi, so forth and so on, right? But really becoming the premier brand in Tennessee. That is our current plan.
It's a great plan. And then once you reach that,
Sky's the limit, right?
the
Um,
sky's the limit.
yeah, there's several things that we can do for us with our experience on the sales side and on the operation side. There's several different things that we could do for even other foundation waterproofing companies that we might work on later on. There's the whole product development and stuff like that. But right now, our goal is before like before helping anybody else, we want to help ourselves. You know what I mean? Type of deal. So become really good for ourselves first before trying to help anybody else. But that is something personally for me, and I know other business partners would agree that we would love to see other foundation and waterproofing companies do the same thing, get better. I think that in our industry, a lot of companies are out there. They haven't grown very much, if at all. They're happy just operating the business and letting money pass through. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
versus actually making something that is tangible and have some type of backing with that. And so I would love in a few years to potentially help other businesses, because I know the need is out there. So it's 1,000%. It's you just get online right now, search plumber, need a plumber for wherever you're at in Nashville, and you're gonna you're gonna hit. They're out there. They're a dime a dozen. HVAC
Mhm.
technician. I need my heat is not working. I need my furnace looked at or whatever. Right? You can find an HVAC guy to come out. You can find big, small, medium. They're out there. But when it comes to foundation and waterproofing, they're out there, but they're few and far between. And they're really good companies, I believe. I think it's a really good industry to be in, because you're really solving just major issues. A lot
Mhm.
of foundation waterproofing companies out there, they don't do anything for the frills of it. They're not doing drywall and paint, and they're protecting uh, usually the customer's number one asset, right? So if you're doing waterproofing, you're protecting the home against water, which is horrible for the home, right?
Mhm.
If you're fixing a foundation, you're protecting the home against settlement, typically.
Mhm.
Settlement in like an exterior wall or even a basement wall that's bowing. So you're usually protecting everything else, because if a wall of your home buckles and bows in, the home isn't worth very much after that, right?
Mhm.
So the way that I view the foundation of waterproofing world, it should be, it's almost with a noble purpose that you're trying to do this, because you're protecting against something else. So that way, if you choose to remodel your kitchen, you choose to take out a couple of walls and repaint and remodel, whatever you want to do, the structure of your home is protected against water, against settlement, so forth and so on. And it's something, believe it or not, that's actually very common. It's not something that is rare. If you have a crawl space, you have moisture.
Mhm.
If your house sits in the dirt, it can have movement, right? Like
Mhm.
all homes sit in the dirt. So it's actually something that's very common out there. So yeah.
Yeah. Um, so let's change gears here.
Yeah.
But the uh, about the challenges you've incurred here over the last year or two starting a
Yeah.
business. What's been the biggest hurdle you've had to clear, or what continues to be kind of a thorn in your side, or causing heartache and pain?
Man, you know, it's almost like every day there's a hurdle. Every day there's a problem, in the business world. I had a professor in college, a professor by the name of Phil Garver. He used to say there's three phases in life. You're either going into a problem, coming out of a problem, or going through a problem. But the common theme is a problem. And that's a lot of that is same for business, right? So um I would say uh a pr- with us, we are ultra aggressive, right? We're ultra ambitious, right?
Mhm.
And so there's always we are self-funding. We don't have any loans. Our debt is based around operations, right? So
Mhm.
inventory and stuff like that. So we use our earnings to fuel our growth, if that makes sense, right? So
Mhm.
just balancing your growth and your ambition. That's one. That's very, very difficult and very hard to predict, especially in industry where your growth could be dictated by weather.
Mhm.
Not right. If it rains a lot outside, well, then you get a lot of waterproofing leads, and you have to make sure you're able to service the customers that are calling, right? So that is a challenge, right? That is a challenge. So and the way that we work around, not work around it, but the way that we work through it is, we try to spend time predicting and looking and forecasting to make sure that we're planning accordingly. That is one thing I would say is a challenge for us, and that's kind of how we work around it. The other thing that I would say that's a challenge for us um, is uh, have you ever read the book Blue Ocean's Strategies?
I haven't read it, but I've heard I understand the concept of, blue oceans.
Blue
Yeah.
Oceans, right? So, in that book, it talks a little bit about product development, and it talks about our service development, right? So
Mm-hmm.
as an example, um, in my head, or in a lot of business owners' heads, they think that you have to have this perfect product to put to market. All right. And it's a product that's based off of perfect for yourself or a group of people, closed group of people. And then you put it to market and it doesn't sell, or it doesn't hit the same way that you thought it would hit.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
Versus in the book, it talks about essentially putting the product to market and using a feedback loop of communication with the
Mm-hmm.
customers to better serve that customer. And it could be a service and stuff like that, right? So I love that book. Awesome book. And for me, uh that I think that there is a lot of opportunity to have services or not be as timid to push the envelope sometimes on
Mm-hmm.
services or products. As long as you're able to be humble and listen to the feedback that you're getting, and then use that feedback to essentially develop that product or that service to better serve future customers and more customers, later on, or even the team itself, right? I'll give you a good example. Um, we waited for a while to update our CRM. It was something that was just there and outdated, and we were just kind of waiting around forever. But uh, once we got into the development of the CRM, we realized that that was taking longer than we expected, and our developers kept pushing back. Oh, we can't release it yet. We can't do it yet, right? So in turn, we just said, "Hey, look, okay, we gave a date, and by this date, we are moving towards that CRM if you're ready or not." Right? Like here's a X to Y by when, and we're going to give it to you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
date comes or whatever, and I think the expectation was that the CRM was going to flop. But the mentality of the team was, hey, we're going to jump into this thing. And as we jump into it, there's going to be issues, there's going to be things, and we're going to run into those things, right? And by having that mentality and solving those issues as they were developed, we were able to jump into that CRM. If we didn't do that, we would still be waiting and paying
Mm-hmm.
for service, paying the company to have a CRM that we're not even using. And
Mm-hmm.
in turn, by jumping into it earlier than what they were telling us we can jump into it, we're able to better serve our customers. Our guys are able to read contracts better. Our guys are able to see photos better. They're able to report and document their work better. So we're able to communicate between production, sales, marketing. We're able to have better communication because we were able to jump into the CRM, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was about, hey, you're going to run into issues, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take the feedback that the team gives me or gives us to be able to work on the CRM. So by waiting around, we would have lost time and money, right?
Right. Right.
And for me, I think that is a challenge of
Mm-hmm.
any business that's out there. And there's a dozen instances of stuff like that where I look and say, man, we could have jumped into this a month early. We could have been here 6 weeks early. We could have been
Right.
here 2 months early, right? And then what would the dividends be by moving with intent and knowing where we wanted to go, right? And so
Yeah.
for me, I think that is a challenge, and that myself and partners, we have to battle on a daily basis.
Right, right. I think, anytime you're developing something new, you can't be afraid of failing. You
Mhm.
can't be afraid of, like you say, get feedback from the market, right? Well, regardless of how perfect you think it is, it doesn't matter. The
Yeah,
market doesn't like it, it's not gonna work.
not going to
You
work.
you got to you got to have the resiliency and the entrepreneurial spirit
That's
of
right.
being able to take feedback and tweak it,
That's right.
to hit the target.
That's
And
right. That's why
that's
a lot of companies out there fail, right? Because they're developing a product or service that they think is important
hmm
versus the end user that's important, right? You go to a
hmm
restaurant and you think your food's amazing. It doesn't matter if you think it's amazing. It matters if the people who are eating there think it's amazing,
right,
right? Well, you get
exactly,
feedback very quick at a restaurant because you won't last long, right?
right,
Overhead's high, and food costs a lot. You got to pay your employees and all the stuff that goes into it, right? So I kind of view, all businesses like a restaurant, right? If you
Hmm.
if you have a good restaurant, man, you got a pretty solid business model because you get feedback instantly. Well, it's the
Right.
same thing for any other business that's out there.
Right.
Develop the services and products for the customer, not for
Right.
yourself type of deal.
Exactly. So let me ask you a couple more questions.
Sure.
One, is there anything that you guys would have done differently? And you're only a year into this,
Hmm.
so there might not be something that you would consider, but I'm curious to know if there's something, something that you're like, I wish we'd have done it this way.
Hmm. Um, hmm. That's a I there's there's a lot of things that I would say that I would do differently, right? Like if somebody was to come in and say, "Nah, I wouldn't change a thing. Everything's amazing," they're a little bit delusional, right? No, I would change a lot of stuff. Honestly speaking, let me think. If I could change anything, or if I could change something, and I would do it, I would probably, honestly, I would probably jump on different products or product lines a little bit quicker. Um, for ease of install and for customers. And when I say ease of install, I'm talking about safety of of
Hmm.
of of like installations. Just in the foundation waterproofing industry, it's very easy to have an accident, right? Just any type of construction is very easy to have an accident. So mitigating that risk as best possible. We haven't had any type of, knock on wood, we haven't had any type of accidents, but yeah, I definitely would jump on something like that a whole lot quicker. But that's a very good question because there's I can list off 10 different things that I would change, before as I'm driving home, before I get home and I'm only like 10 minutes away. I could think about things that I would change. But I'll say this. Um, from from everything that we have experienced thus far, we have taken the things that we would have changed and really humble down and figure a way out to implement change and look at root causes and really what we would do, right?
Hmm.
Just like the first office that we were at, was in Memphis, Tennessee, which is the original office that Brandon started. But we used the information that we had from starting that branch to bringing it to Nashville, which I technically worked in Nashville before, so I knew something about kind of the Nashville customer and the type of employees that we were able to draw to our company. So, but taking every misstep and stopping and saying, "Hey, why did this happen? What is the root cause of it?" Right? Is this something that I need to train out? Is this something that is a one-time thing? Is this something that I need to have a system put in place to monitor that I can check on, that other owners can check on, that other managers can check on, right? So I think the mentality of if I would change something, yes, I would change a lot. I would change a lot. But at least having that mentality and knowing, man, we're not perfect. We're
Yeah.
human beings and we're going to make mistakes, and at least being able to humble down and recognize that something needs to be changed and go from there. So you think
Yeah.
about it in a roundabout way, my whole progression through my career is thinking about, hey, how would I do this different, right?
Mhm.
How would I treat my people? How would I train my people? How would I treat my customers? What is the perception that I want them to have? So my whole career has been in the foundation and waterproofing industry has been around how I would do things different. So,
Mhm.
but for myself, yeah.
Yeah, so you're right, man. You started off talking about how you wanted to do things different. So
Yeah,
um, your mind just kind of naturally goes there, right? And that's what led you to this opportunity here.
for sure.
doing something different. So Rennie, let me finish this off here. I got one last question, and it's got to do not necessarily with business, but maybe how you go about educating yourself or keeping yourself knowledgeable from a business perspective or leadership or whatever other faceted characteristic of your persona that you seek to improve. I'm curious. I asked this question to each guest. If there's a book that they read quite some time ago that that's continued to be kind of foundational for the way they think, or the information that they within the book that they can rely upon, or if there's maybe one that they've read recently that stands out and has provided insight. Is there a book that stands out?
There's several books that I try to keep well read, but there's several books that I could probably recommend depending on what you're looking for, right? But for me, a book that's a constant reminder for myself, which is a book of leadership. It's Extreme Ownership. That's written by Leif Blabin and Jacko Willink. They own I think it's a consultation firm that is called Echelon Front, and they're a group of Navy SEALs that started this firm and written a book, and they go around doing awesome presentations and actually putting people in the business world through some really extreme stuff, but to help humble down and really build solid leaders. Nobody falls just into luck. Nobody just falls into just a really good predicament. Majority of people, they have to work to get where they're going to get in life. And even if you're not a leader, a CEO, a COO, a owner, a manager, a director of anything in a company, even if you're an employee, that is just you have to manage yourself, right? And so in this book, they talk about the principles like discipline equals freedom. They talk about a rule simple. They talk about a really good principles that if you're leading a team or if you're responsible just for yourself, that you can apply into leadership. And the principle around it is owning everything that you do in all aspects of your life and your business per se. So that's the name is Extreme Ownership, right? And they actually followed up with a book that is kind of like Extreme Ownership Part 2. It's called Dichotomy of Leadership. The two guys, Leif Blabin and Jacko Willink, they wrote that book as well. And it's an awesome book that follows up and builds on the same principles. And they talk about they apply military tactics to business per se, right? Because you got to think about it. The most valuable thing that you probably have is your life. And so if you're out there and you're risking your life for a country, right, like America, like the US, and how valuable that is, right? If you take those principles and you apply them to your business, man, it is chef's kiss and amazing.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, man. That's a pretty good insight. I've heard of extreme ownership. I didn't. So extreme leadership is a predecessor to it. Is that right?
Dichotomy of leadership.
Dichotomy of leadership. Okay.
Dichotomy of leadership. Awesome guys. They have I think they have like their own energy drinks now, and they have their own clothing.
Really?
And I mean they're a awesome brand. I got introduced to the book. I think that was 2016, something like that. I think it was, and it was a very interesting read because the way that the book is written, it first starts out with a principle, whatever that principle or a pillar you might want to call it, and then it talks about how that pillar was applied to in the state of combat, right, in Ramadi or wherever they were at, right, and then afterwards they talk about consulting with a firm and then seeing the same issue or the same problem that they were having in the field and out of country, where they were at, the same issues that they were running into, they were finding those in companies right here on US soil. and making things way more difficult than they need to be. Right. So, and they talk about how they solved the problem in the field in war, and then they talk about how they solve the problem, inside the company by consulting with these companies, and it is eerily similar how a platoon or a military detachment is to a company, and they're real people too, right? They're soldiers, they're real people too. So they have an objective, and companies should have an objective and what they're trying to achieve. And so it definitely helps guide and build really, really good leaders.
Yeah. I'll have to check it out, man.
Yeah.
Well, Rennie, it's been really a pleasure having you on the podcast and enjoying this conversation with you, learning more about foundation repair and waterproofing and what you guys are doing to differentiate yourself. Congratulations on the first year, and looking forward to hearing from you in the future and how you guys are progressing.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Craig.
All right. Thanks, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.